going to be a very vocal, angry rant about this past episode of Arrow, and I thought about wanting to talk about this issue, how I was going to talk about it, why I was going to talk about it, and I really felt like it's one thing to say how much I love Laurel as a character and how much I love the Black Canary, and say that, but it's larger than that. And so this is going to be a topic very angrily, very vocally discussing my anger, my disgust, my disappointment at the last episode of Arrow. So, spoilers if you haven't seen that episode yet, and if you hate Laurel and you have nothing constructive to say about it, feel free not to watch. There are plenty of places you can do that. If you're trying to get a rise out of me, it's not the time. I mean, do so at your own peril, but I'm pissed. The main reason why I'm pissed about this is because it is a reflection of the fuckery and the stupidity that has consumed Arrow for the past few seasons. It is because this is a show that is inspired by the Green Arrow. And with the death of Laurel, we have officially lost every single character from the comic books that had a landmark in the show. And throughout its time, Arrow has, for the most part, systematically destroyed and or ruined every single comic book character that they have incorporated into their show. From Slade, to Ra's al Ghul, to Huntress, to even Vandal Savage to a degree. So many. The biggest one has always been, however, Black Canary, because they have from the very beginning disrespected what that character was supposed to mean. I went into all of this about who Black Canary is, what she is, in a previous video when I talked about the possibility of her death, so you can look to that for more talking about who Black Canary is and who she was supposed to be. But they have done this consistently, and now that Laurel is dead, this means that every single character on Arrow was created for the show to be Oliver's puppetry, to be his entourage, to be his bitches, and contribute nothing of value overall. That has been Felicity's arc since she became a love interest officially. Like, she does nothing, she contributes nothing, she is just there to fill the space that she has been elected to do as a tech person. And if they make her the Black Canary... Laurel's death in this episode reminded me a lot of The Killing Joke. And The Killing Joke is, well, a very iconic, beloved overall comic. It has faced feminist criticism, mainly for the fact that Barbara Gordon she isn't killed, but she is injured, disabled, as a way of causing emotional distress to the men in her life. And not because she's a superhero, not because it's revenge over someone hurting her because of who she is as Batgirl. It's about her father, Detective Gordon, and about making him suffer. That's what this was to me. Laurel was killed so that her father could suffer, so that Diggle could suffer, so that everyone else could suffer. It wasn't about her being the Black Canary. It wasn't about her being someone who since season 1 has been trying to fight for good and justice in the city. It was about facilitating the man pain of several other characters. That is disrespectful on so many fucking levels. And then to have her last words be about Oliver and Felicity's relationship, to tell Oliver that that was the love of her life? Fuckery. How dare they? Like, how truly dare they do that? After all of the terrible things that Oliver has done to Laurel, has spoken to her, has fucked her over. He had several affairs while they were actually together. Their whole relationship is tainted because he was a terrible fucking person to her. And the last thing she says is to validate his feelings, his emotions, to make him feel good. It's terrible. It's terrible because we know how their relationship was. He has a child that was born out of an affair he had while he was with Laurel. His whole arc about him going on a ship, he did while having an affair with Sarah while he was with Laurel. So how can you even make her last words about validating him and his feelings, knowing how he has treated Laurel? I mean, just the raw-ass audacity of the statement. And to have the writer say, we don't care about what the fans say, we don't care about shipping, we don't care about other comic book storylines. Shut the fuck up. Because there is no reason for Alyssa to even be a relationship if you weren't thinking about shippers. I don't care what fucking chemistry you say these two characters have. Their relationship makes zero sense besides sexual attraction. There is nothing going on there. I'm not saying this that they should have had Laurel and Oliver be a couple, because honestly, Oliver doesn't deserve any woman on that show because he's a terrible fucking person and a pathetic ass man, and he does not deserve anybody. But for them to act as though people being upset about how Laurel has been treated and her death and everything like that, to be like, well, we've always been different from the comic books. We've always said that everyone was fair game. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Of the core cast of characters, the only character you killed off was Tommy. You haven't killed off a main character since then. And I don't think we can really call Tommy a main character. He was a recurring character. Then you killed Moira. Okay. That was the other thing about too, they said about how Laurel had reached her peak as a character. Moira's death while she was fridged, she had reached her peak as a character. As a supporting character, as being that part of Oliver's life, you can say it was time for her to go. Laurel just finished becoming the Black Canary. This has been her first true ring as the Black Canary in the show. And she's dead? At the very beginning of her career as a vigilante, that's where her peak is? No, it's you're lazy, you've given up, you don't know what to do with her if she's not fucking somebody, and she hasn't fucked anybody since season 2. So you are bad at writing women well, and therefore you got rid of one that you did not know how to write for. That is the reality situation. Same thing why Iris can't do shit in her own show. You don't know how to write women when they're not on a man's penis. Period. End of sentence. And it's y'all. And I know it's y'all because I just finished watching fucking Daredevil, and despite that show having issues with race and all kinds of other stuff, Karen Page is not defined by her proximity to Matt Murdock's cock. Ever. She may be his love interest, but she gets to do her own shit, have her own storylines, be active, have agency, and she did not know who Daredevil was. She did not know any of that shit, but here she was, still doing things, still being part of the main plot, and still being a well-rounded fucking character, whether you like her or not. And you cannot do that because you were bad at your job of writing well-rounded female characters. And on top of that, you fucked up a female superhero who has been part of the Justice League, part of the DC Universe for decades because you can't do your jobs. I'm trying, like I'm really trying, but I'm really so aggravated. Aggravated because what is this foolishness? And they've ruined everything that they could do with her character from the very beginning by putting her in this box and deciding that once she could no longer fit that box, there is nowhere else to go. It's because they don't know what they're doing. Point blank. They had disrespected her at every single turn. And you know what? The episode that I vividly remember, and I always remember, because it was a point where I realized that I was solely on Team Laurel and I could give a solid fuck about Oliver Queen, was the episode where they convinced Laurel to have that dinner to welcome back Sarah. And Sarah wants Oliver to come. And they're making goo-goo eyes. And in Laurel's mind, and this is the thing that people never understood, right? Laurel did not know certain details that were deliberately kept from her by people, and her reaction was in response to the information she didn't know. Her sister, who just came back from the fucking dead after being thought to be dead for 5-6 years, is now suddenly back. Her sister died while she was carrying out an affair with her boyfriend at the time, who is also back. She's just lost Tommy. She is dealing with this through alcohol abuse and trying to figure out where she fits in and having a hard time with that. She is struggling with her own personal demons. And Sarah brings Oliver to this dinner party, doesn't ask nobody, just shows the fuck up with him. That's Sarah. That's another thing about Laurel. I'll get to that in a second. And then when Oliver and Sarah fucking, Laura is like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, she flips out. And everything she says, everything she's putting out there is the fucking truth. She's right about Quentin trying to act like he can just get back together with Dinah, about Sarah and Oliver acting like fucking morons when they just got back as far as she knows. All of that is valid. But yet Oliver's the one to be like, you're letting yourself destroy yourself. I'm tired of trying to fight for you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Because even on the island, you was fucking somebody else. What are you talking about? And that was the scene where I realized that these people do not understand what they are talking about. And Sarah, I have nothing strongly against Sarah. I'm glad that to have a bisexual character on TV. I don't have to like every single bisexual, but I'm glad she's there. I was pissed when she died because I don't want to see another girl fridge for some man pain. But Sarah was never an interesting or dynamic character to me. I mean, she was cool, but there was no depth to her that didn't come from her being with other characters. She was a great supporting character. She was never the Black Canary that I wanted. I always wanted Laurel to be the Black Canary because to me, that was the path that she was meant to take. Every single member of Oliver's team is not an Arrow character. I mean, you have to think about this. Like, they made up Diggle. They made up Felicity. They made up Thea. The only two people on Team Arrow who were Arrow characters were Roy Harper and Laurel, who should have been Dinah, but whatever, and Laurel. And they're gone. That is like, you have a Bat team. Like, you have the Batman team, right? Made up of a bunch of fuck nobodies. And the only characters that you have are Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon. And you kill Barbara Gordon. And you just kick Dick Grayson off the show and don't replace him with, like, an actual fucking Dick or Tim. You just create some other, like, John Doe coming out of fucking nowhere. Like, oh, you're the new person. Even Mr. Terrific isn't Mr. Terrific. He is some made-up, lesser character than who he actually should be on the show based on his comic counterpart. And that is on them. You want to take comic book fans' money, take their product, repackage it, put it back out there, but then be pissed off when comic book fans are like, what are you doing? And be like, well, we can do what we want. These are our characters. No, 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 no. They were our characters first. What you do with Felicity and Diggle, that's your business. But Oliver Queen, Laurel, Roy, those were ours before they were ever yours to ever come and act any of that shit. What? The flaws of Arrow and the flaws of The Flash are because of their writers. And the writers not understanding how to write the characters that they have inherited and that they have paid for. And the death of Laurel, and whether or not it's a death that sticks or not, the point of the matter is they killed her to prove a point that nobody is safe except for Oliver. Well, you know what? We knew nobody was safe because you never did anything good with the characters to begin with. And I love Laurel, but I loved her in spite of everything that the writers did. And to me, all this did was prove to me that Arrow is not worth my time, it is not worth my energy, and I am done with it. Because I would have at least given them some props that they let Laurel die like a fucking hero. To give her a hero's death. But much like Sarah, much like Moira, it was a death for somebody else. And with Moira, I could deal with that. Besides the LGBT principle with it, I would understand Sarah having to go or leave for the narrative. But to kill off the Black Canary, one of the most important parts of the Green Lantern team, a member of the Justice League, has been so consistently for years, because you don't know what to do with her and you refuse to evolve her as a character, you don't deserve my time, you don't deserve my money, and if I could return the Black Canary toy that I have, I would. I will keep my Black Canary to remind me that they're right, no one is safe. It doesn't matter if you are an important female superhero, a supporting female love interest like Iris, or a complex female, anti-hero like Huntress. It doesn't matter where you came from, who you are in the universe you came from. You can be treated like a piece of shit if you have a vagina and no one knows what to do with you. So Arrow, fuck you. Thank you for wasting my time, but also thank you for freeing me from the disaster that is your show. And I hope that you will do Diggle some service, because I love Diggle. The best thing you ever did to the show was create the character of Diggle. And so I can thank you for him. But for Huntress, for Shadow, for Amanda Waller, for Laurel, you have done dog shit. I hope Felicity was worth it, because that's what you got now. Toodaloo.